I come from a family of academics. Both my parents are professors, and every cousin has at least one fancy degree hanging on their wall. Meanwhile, I chose trade school to become an electrician. At family gatherings, my cousins got endless praise for their college acceptances and graduations, while my choice was met with awkward silence or thinly veiled disappointment. Little did they know that my lesser path would lead me to financial freedom they could only dream of, and the ultimate revenge when they least expected it. Before I get into this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. And if you have ever felt underestimated by family, hit that subscribe button, because this story is for you. Growing up in an affluent Boston suburb, education was everything in my family. Our dinner conversations revolved around academic achievements, scholarly publications, and which prestigious universities were worth applying to. My father taught economics at Harvard, while my mother was a tenured professor of English literature at Boston College. Our extended family was cut from the same cloth: doctors, lawyers, and scientists who viewed traditional education as the only acceptable path to success. Every holiday gathering turned into a showcase of intellectual accomplishments. My Aunt Sarah, a neurosurgeon, would bring her 3 children who were all following similar trajectories. My Uncle Thomas, a corporate attorney, had 2 daughters who competed for the highest GPA and most impressive extracurriculars. Family photos featured graduation caps and university pennants, creating a visual history of academic excellence that stretched back generations. From an early age, I knew I was different. While my cousins excelled at debate club and science fairs, I found myself drawn to more practical pursuits. My earliest memories involve taking apart old radios in the basement, fascinated by how the components worked together. When something broke in our house, a flickering light, a malfunctioning toaster, I was always the first to investigate. My parents viewed these interests as cute hobbies, assuming I would eventually outgrow them and focus on real education. By the time I turned 15, I had rewired my bedroom, installed a ceiling fan in our sunroom, and fixed countless household appliances. These accomplishments brought me genuine satisfaction that I never experienced when writing essays or solving equations. My parents remained oblivious to my growing passion, still expecting me to follow the path they had laid out for me since birth. I struggled through most academic subjects in high school. Mathematics was especially challenging, ironically, despite my ability to calculate electrical loads and circuit requirements with ease when working on practical projects. Literature classes felt pointless, as I slogged through novels that seemed disconnected from real life. Meanwhile, I thrived in shop class, outperforming students who otherwise earned straight A's. During my junior year, a pivotal moment changed my trajectory. Our house experienced electrical problems that multiple professionals failed to diagnose. Out of curiosity, I traced the issue to an outdated junction box in our attic. When an electrician named Frank came to make the repair, he was impressed by my assessment. He spent extra time showing me how the house systems worked together, explaining the career opportunities in electrical work. For the first time, someone validated the skills I had developed on my own. Frank became an informal mentor, occasionally letting me shadow him on weekend jobs. He showed me the diversity of electrical work, from residential wiring to commercial systems, to specialized industrial applications. Most importantly, he helped me understand that working with my hands could provide not just satisfaction, but financial stability and independence. His 20 years in the trade had afforded him a comfortable home college funds for his children and the freedom to choose his projects. As senior year approached, the pressure intensified. My parents began scheduling campus visits to Ivy League schools, making assumptions about my future without consulting me. Family gatherings became increasingly uncomfortable as relatives asked which universities I was considering. I spent nights researching alternatives, compiling data on trade school programs, apprenticeships, and career outlooks for electricians. The numbers told a compelling story. While my cousins would accumulate massive student debt for degrees with uncertain job prospects, electricians were in constant demand, with starting salaries comparable to many entry-level positions requiring bachelor degrees. After completing an apprenticeship, I could expect steady wage increases, and with additional certifications, could specialize in lucrative areas like industrial systems or renewable energy integration. Armed with this research, I finally confronted my parents one evening after dinner. The conversation was more difficult than I had anticipated. My mother cried, asking where she had gone wrong in raising me. My father questioned whether I had fully considered the limitations I would face without a college degree. Their reactions revealed deep-seated beliefs about class status and the perceived dignity of different types of work. After weeks of tense discussions and several family therapy sessions, my parents reluctantly agreed to support my decision, at least verbally. I could sense their underlying disappointment, their hope that this was merely a phase I would outgrow. They agreed to pay for trade school, as they would have for college, though they made it clear they considered this a compromise rather than an endorsement. My first day at Northeast Technical Institute marked the beginning of a journey that would eventually prove my family wrong. The campus lacked the ivy-covered buildings and manicured quads of the universities my cousins attended, but it hummed with purposeful energy. Classrooms contained actual equipment we would use in the field, and instructors spoke from decades of real-world experience. I immediately connected with fellow students who shared my practical mindset. Unlike the homogeneous background of my family, my classmates came from diverse walks of life: veterans transitioning to civilian careers, parents seeking better opportunities for their families, recent high school graduates like me who preferred hands-on work. We formed a tight-knit community based on mutual respect for each other's skills and ambitions. The curriculum combined technical theory with extensive practical application. I absorbed information about electrical codes, system design safety protocols, and advanced troubleshooting with an enthusiasm I had never experienced in traditional academic settings. My hands seemed to have an intuitive understanding that my brain had previously lacked when facing textbook problems. Within months, instructors were using my work as examples for other students. As my technical knowledge expanded, so did my confidence. I mastered complex systems, learned to read and create detailed schematics, and developed efficiency in installations that impressed even seasoned professionals. The doubts planted by my family began to fade as I accumulated tangible skills that I could immediately apply in the real world. While I was thriving at trade school, life at home grew increasingly strained. My parents avoided mentioning my education to their colleagues and friends. When forced to acknowledge it, they used phrases like taking some time to explore options or getting some practical experience before college, never accepting that I had chosen a legitimate career path. The first major family gathering after beginning trade school coincided with Thanksgiving. My cousin Jeffrey had just been accepted to Princeton, and the entire dinner centered around his accomplishment. Multiple toasts celebrated his bright future and intellectual gifts. When my aunt reluctantly asked about my studies, my brief description of mastering three-phase electrical systems was met with polite nods, before conversation quickly returned to Jeffrey's impressive SAT scores. Later that evening, I overheard my uncle telling another relative that my decision was just a phase, and that I would realize my mistake once I saw my peers graduating from real schools. The casual dismissal of my chosen path stung deeply, especially as I was excelling in ways I never had in traditional education. The social media slight came next. As cousins received college acceptance letters or completed semesters, elaborate posts appeared on family members' pages. So proud of Madison, earning a place on the dean list at Georgetown. Congratulations to Tyler for his acceptance to medical school. Photos showed family celebrations, expensive gifts, and public acknowledgement of these traditional achievements. When I completed my first year of trade school, with perfect attendance and top marks in all technical assessments, the family social media channels remained silent. I found myself scrolling through effusive posts about my cousins' intellectual prowess and academic dedication, while my own accomplishments existed in a vacuum. The contrast became impossible to ignore when my younger cousin received a 1,000-word tribute for completing his freshman year at a state university, while my certification in advanced electrical systems warranted no mention. Only my Aunt Elaine, my mother's youngest sister, and the family outlier who worked as a high school art teacher reached out privately. Her message was brief but meaningful. "I see how hard you are working, Corbett. Not everyone can understand different types of intelligence, but I do. Keep going." Her small acknowledgement provided a momentary balm to my growing sense of invisibility within my own family. The disparity became most painful at graduation. I completed my trade school program with specialized certification in renewable energy systems, finishing at the top of my class. The ceremony was scheduled on a Thursday afternoon, making it theoretically possible for family to attend. When I mentioned the date, my parents cited prior commitments that could not be rescheduled. No other relatives even pretended to consider attending. That same week, the entire extended family traveled to New York to celebrate my cousin Allison graduation with a liberal arts degree. Social media exploded with photos of the elaborate dinner, the expensive gifts, and the effusive speeches about her bright future, despite her lack of concrete job prospects. My graduation certificate arrived in the mail while I sat alone in my apartment scrolling through images of the family I increasingly felt disconnected from. My early career showed promise that contradicted my family's pessimistic predictions. I secured an apprenticeship with Sullivan Electrical Contractors, a well-established company specializing in both residential and commercial work. My trade school performance and additional certifications allowed me to start at a higher pay rate than most beginning apprentices. My supervisor, noticing my attention to detail and problem-solving abilities, frequently assigned me to more complex projects. Within 18 months, I had received 2 pay increases and taken on responsibilities, usually reserved for more experienced workers. I began building a reputation for quality work, particularly in integrating renewable energy systems with traditional electrical infrastructure. Clients specifically requested me for projects, and several offered independent contracting opportunities that I carefully balanced with my apprenticeship requirements. Meanwhile, social media updates revealed the struggles of my college-educated cousins. Jeffrey's prestigious Princeton degree led to an unpaid internship and continued financial dependence on his parents. Madison was working as a barista while sending out countless resumes. Tyler's medical school ambitions had saddled him with debt that would take decades to repay. Yet at family gatherings, their situations were framed as paying dues and building experience, while my steady advancement in the electrical trade was still viewed as settling for less. The breaking point came during a summer barbecue at my parents' house. After several beers, my Uncle Paul began loudly discussing the crisis of higher education and how young people needed to commit to real education, regardless of the cost. When I mentioned the growing demand for skilled tradespeople, he laughed dismissively. "Sure, someone needs to fix the toilets and keep the lights on," he said, "but that kind of manual labor has a ceiling. No one in those fields ever makes real impact or real money." My cousins joined in making jokes about tool belts and work boots despite their own financial struggles. One suggested I could always go to college later when I got tired of crawling around in attics. Another commented that they could never date someone without a degree, receiving knowing nods from other family members. I remained silent, picking at my food, as the conversation moved on to other topics. But something crystallized in that moment, a realization that no achievement in my chosen field would ever receive the recognition or respect that even mediocre academic accomplishments were granted automatically. The decision formed quietly in my mind. I would no longer share my professional milestones with my family. They had lost the privilege of witnessing my success. The Monday after that demoralizing family gathering, I scheduled a meeting with a financial advisor. While my cousins posted about student loan forbearance programs and parental bailouts, I had been consistently saving since beginning my apprenticeship. Living modestly in a shared apartment and driving a 10-year-old truck, I had accumulated substantial savings that surprised even me when tallied properly. The financial advisor, Amanda Powell, reviewed my situation with growing appreciation. "Most clients your age are focused on managing debt, not building assets," she noted. My student loans from trade school were minimal compared to the 6-figure burdens my cousins carried. With my steady income and low expenses, Amanda suggested I was well-positioned to begin investing, particularly in real estate, given my understanding of building systems and ability to handle renovations personally. "Property ownership is one of the most reliable paths to wealth building," she explained, outlining various investment strategies. Someone with your skills could purchase distressed properties at discount, improve them using your own labor for many repairs, and either rent for income or resell at significant profit. This conversation sparked a vision that grew more compelling each time I considered it. While my family measured success in framed diplomas and prestigious job titles, I could build tangible wealth through assets that generated passive income. The irony that my lesser education might lead to greater financial independence was not lost on me. Over the next several weeks, I immersed myself in research about real estate investing. I attended seminars on property management, studied local market trends, and connected with investors who had started with similar resources. Setting an ambitious goal, I decided to purchase my first income property within 24 months. This would require additional income beyond my apprenticeship wages. Leveraging my growing reputation for quality work, I launched a side business focusing on specialized electrical installations that many contractors avoided: smart home systems, electric vehicle charging stations, and solar integrations. These projects commanded premium rates and could be completed during evenings and weekends without interfering with my regular employment. My first client came through a recommendation from Frank, my original mentor. A local doctor wanted a comprehensive smart home system installed in his newly constructed house, a complex project that larger companies had quoted at prohibitive rates. By handling it personally and scheduling work around my regular hours, I completed the installation for a price that satisfied both of us while still providing substantial profit. Word spread quickly. Within 3 months, I had more side projects than I could personally handle. I carefully selected the most profitable opportunities, focusing on those that would build my skills in areas valuable for property renovation. Each completed job expanded my professional network and added to my growing investment fund. My social life narrowed to essential relationships. While cousins posted about exotic vacations funded by parental generosity, I worked 60-hour weeks, split between my apprenticeship and growing business. Friends from trade school understood my drive, often referring clients or collaborating on larger projects. We formed a community of mutual support, sharing knowledge, tools, and opportunities. My financial discipline intensified. Every unnecessary expense was eliminated. I tracked every dollar, calculating how each spending decision impacted my timeline for property acquisition. The growing balance in my investment account provided motivation during exhausting weeks when I questioned my choices. Watching that number climb while my cousins complained about mounting interest on student loans reinforced that I had chosen the right path regardless of my family opinion. After 18 months of relentless work and saving, I contacted a realtor specializing in investment properties. Terry Michaels had 20 years of experience helping investors identify opportunities others overlooked. During our initial meeting, I outlined my criteria: a property with both commercial and residential potential, structurally sound, but cosmetically distressed, and located in an area with growth prospects. "You've got a better understanding of property potential than investors twice your age," Terry commented, after our third property viewing. "Most first-time buyers get distracted by superficial issues or overestimate their renovation capabilities. You evaluate the electrical, plumbing, and structural elements that actually determine a property value." Our property search extended through summer and into fall. We viewed dozens of options, many close to meeting my criteria, but falling short in crucial aspects. I refused to rush the decision, knowing that the right opportunity would justify the wait. Meanwhile, my investment fund continued to grow through additional projects and careful management. In November, Terry called about a promising new listing, a mixed-use building near the center of my hometown. The property featured a street-level commercial space with 2 apartments above. The owner, an elderly man retiring to Florida, had maintained the structure but neglected cosmetic updates for years. The dated appearance and cluttered interior had discouraged other buyers, creating an opportunity for significant value appreciation through relatively straightforward improvements. During our walkthrough, I recognized the solid bones beneath the cosmetic issues. The electrical system needed updating but was fundamentally sound. The layout offered multiple options for reconfiguration. The location, 2 blocks from a developing arts district, positioned the property to benefit from neighborhood revitalization already underway. As Terry and I discussed potential offers, he mentioned casually that another family had expressed interest but seemed hesitant about the renovation requirements. When he described this family, academic types seemed concerned about getting their hands dirty with actual work. A strange coincidence began to form in my mind. This family, I asked carefully, was it a middle-aged couple? The husband tall with a salt and pepper beard, the wife with short blonde hair. Terry looked surprised. "You know them, my parents," I replied, feeling a surge of competing emotions. "And let me guess, they were with my Uncle Paul and Aunt Sarah. Possibly my cousins Jeffrey and Allison." His confirmation sent my thoughts racing. Further discreet questions revealed that my family was considering a joint investment, pooling resources to purchase the building as a shared family asset. According to Terry, they had viewed the property twice, but were proceeding cautiously, concerned about the renovation scope and uncertain about managing the commercial-tenant relationship. That evening, I conducted additional research beyond what Terry had provided. The building had historical significance that my preservation-minded mother would appreciate. The commercial zoning permitted educational uses that aligned with my family academic backgrounds. The location near cultural amenities matched their lifestyle preferences. No wonder they were interested. The property offered everything they valued. What they failed to recognize was its practical potential aspects. I was uniquely qualified to evaluate and improve. The outdated electrical system that concerned them represented a minor investment of materials and my own labor. The cosmetic issues reducing the property appeal could be addressed through straightforward renovations. The complications they feared were precisely the opportunities I was equipped to leverage. After careful consideration, I made my decision. I would pursue this property aggressively, not out of spite, but because it genuinely represented the ideal investment opportunity I had been seeking. If successful, the coincidence would create an unavoidable demonstration of how my different path had led to genuine success, a concrete rebuttal to years of dismissal. Working with Terry, I developed a strategic approach. My offer would be competitive but not excessive. backed by proof of financing and a shorter closing timeline than most buyers could manage. I emphasized my technical capabilities to address the property condition issues, differentiating my bid from others who might request extensive contingencies or price reductions to accommodate renovation costs. Through connections developed during my apprenticeship, I secured financing with favorable terms. My business income, consistent employment history, and substantial down payment overcame concerns about my youth and first-time investor status. The lender, impressed by my detailed property analysis and improvement plan, approved my application with minimal complications. Terry submitted my offer with the supporting documentation. 3 tense days followed as I continued my regular work schedule while checking my phone obsessively for updates. On the 4th day, Terry called with the news my offer had been accepted. The seller appreciated my renovation experience and quick closing timeline. We scheduled the closing for 2 weeks later, at First Community Bank downtown. Only as I hung up did the full significance register. I had outbid my family for a property they wanted using success they had never acknowledged to secure an opportunity they had dismissed me as incapable of handling. The moment of revelation at closing would be unavoidable, as we used the same local bank for all significant transactions. The coincidence seemed almost scripted in its perfect irony. The morning of the closing arrived bright and clear, a crisp December day with light snow dusting the ground. I dressed carefully in business, casual attire, professional but not pretentious. The property documentation filled a leather portfolio I had received as a graduation gift from my Aunt Elaine, the only family member who had acknowledged my achievement. Arriving at First Community Bank 15 minutes early, I reviewed final details with Terry in the lobby while waiting for the seller and his attorney. The closing was scheduled in Conference Room A, with all parties expected to arrive by 10:30 in the morning. As we discussed post-closing procedures, the bank doors opened, admitting a group of people I instantly recognized, despite focusing my attention on the documents before me. My parents entered first, followed closely by Uncle Paul and Aunt Sarah. Behind them came my cousins Jeffrey and Allison, both looking bored and checking their phones. They headed directly to the reception desk, where they were directed to wait for Conference Room B to become available. As they settled into the lobby seating area, my father noticed me and raised his hand in a hesitant greeting, clearly surprised by my presence. Terry, sensing the sudden tension, asked quietly if I knew these people. Before I could respond, the seller for my property transaction arrived, and we were escorted to Conference Room A. As we passed my family, their expressions registered confusion. I nodded politely but offered no explanation, proceeding into the conference room with measured steps. The closing process began smoothly with documents signed and funds transferred according to plan. Midway through the proceedings, the bank manager entered to inform us that Conference Room B had become available. As he opened the door to deliver this message, my family glimpsed me sitting at the head of the table signing ownership documents for the property they had intended to purchase. The recognition was immediate and electric. My mother gasped audibly. My father froze mid-sentence. Uncle Paul stared open-mouthed, while Aunt Sarah whispered urgently to my cousins. I maintained my focus on the transaction at hand, but the weight of their shocked gazes pressed against my back like a physical force. When the closing concluded, I accepted the keys from the seller with a firm handshake. Congratulations were exchanged, and final instructions provided. As our meeting ended, I exited the conference room to find my family still standing in the lobby, their scheduled meeting apparently forgotten in the revelation of my unexpected appearance. "Corbett," my father said, stepping forward. "What are you doing here?" His tone suggested he already suspected the answer but could not quite believe it. Finalizing the purchase of my first investment property, I replied simply, "The mixed-use building on Maple Street." The silence that followed contained years of underestimation and dismissal. Uncle Paul recovered first, his expression cycling through disbelief, anger, and forced composure. "That is impossible," he stated flatly. "We have been negotiating for that property for weeks." "Apparently someone offered better terms," my mother said quietly, understanding dawning in her eyes as she looked at me with new awareness. Jeffrey laughed nervously. "You bought a building. With what money?" Rather than answering directly, I turned to Terry. "Thank you for your help throughout this process. I will call you next week to discuss the renovation timeline." With a respectful nod to my family, I added, "I have clients waiting." "Excuse me." As I walked toward the exit, my father called after me. "Corbett, wait. We should talk about this." I paused, considering my response carefully. "I would be happy to discuss it another time. Right now, I have work to do. My business does not run itself." The irony that my cousins had no similar obligations was left unspoken but hung in the air between us. The aftermath unfolded in predictable waves. First came the angry phone calls, accusations of deliberate sabotage and family disloyalty. My parents claimed I had used insider information to undermine their investment opportunity. Uncle Paul suggested my financing must involve something questionable, unable to believe I had legitimately qualified for the mortgage. These calls I answered calmly, explaining that I had pursued the property based on its merits without initially knowing of their interest. The second wave brought bargaining. Perhaps we could work something out. They could buy a portion of the property, or I could sell it to them for a reasonable profit. These suggestions revealed their continued underestimation of my intentions and capabilities. I politely declined, explaining my long-term investment strategy and renovation plans. My parents found themselves uncomfortably positioned between warring factions. During a tense dinner at their home, my mother admitted feeling torn between family loyalty and newfound respect for my achievements. "We never realized you were doing so well," she confessed. "You stopped sharing your life with us, and we assumed that meant you had nothing to share." I stopped sharing. I corrected gently, because you stopped valuing what I shared. "When did any of you last ask about my work with genuine interest? When did you celebrate my accomplishments, with even a fraction of the enthusiasm you show for every academic milestone my cousins achieve?" My father studied his plate, silently, before responding. "Perhaps we have been measuring success by the wrong metrics." The property itself became my focus in the months that followed. I took a brief leave from my regular employment to concentrate on essential renovations. Beginning with the electrical system, I brought the entire building up to modern standards, installing energy-efficient, lighting-updated wiring, and smart home capabilities that significantly enhanced the property value. The commercial space required considerable work to transform from a cluttered antique store to an attractive retail environment. I preserved character elements like exposed brick walls and hardwood floors, while updating the layout for improved customer flow. New display windows, custom shelving, and a redesigned entrance created a space that quickly attracted interest from potential tenants. The upstairs apartments underwent similar transformations. Working evenings and weekends, I modernized kitchens and bathrooms, refinished original hardwood floors, and created open-concept living spaces that maximized natural light. Energy-efficient appliances and fixtures reduced utility costs, while adding contemporary appeal. Throughout the process, I applied skills learned during my apprenticeship, supplemented by knowledge shared by fellow tradespeople who often helped during intensive phases of the renovation. The satisfaction of transforming vision into reality provided rewards beyond financial gain. Each completed room represented a tangible achievement, visible, functional, and valuable in ways that academic accolades could never match. As the property gradually emerged from its neglected state, so too did my confidence in the path I had chosen. An unexpected development came in the form of my youngest cousin, Emma. At 22, she had followed family expectations through 2 years of college, before recognizing her misalignment with traditional academics. One afternoon, she appeared at the property during renovations, curious about my project, and unsatisfied with the family narrative that I had unfairly acquired the building. "I hate school," she confessed after watching me install recessed lighting in what would become a premium apartment. "Everyone keeps telling me it will get better, that I will find my passion if I just take more classes. But I am 3 semesters and $20,000 in debt and more confused than when I started." Our conversation continued through lunch at a nearby cafe, where Emma asked thoughtful questions about my journey. Unlike other family members, she showed genuine interest in the practical aspects of my work, the problem-solving, the tangible results, the financial strategy. Before leaving, she asked if she could shadow me occasionally to learn more about trades as a potential alternative to her current path. Emma became a regular presence at the property, initially observing but eventually helping with basic tasks. Her questions revealed an aptitude for design and space planning that complemented my technical focus. When she finally gathered the courage to tell her parents she was considering leaving college to explore opportunities in interior design, my aunt and uncle immediately blamed my negative influence. The irony that their daughter had found direction and purpose through exposure to practical work escaped them entirely. Gradually, other family members showed tentative interest in my project. My mother, whose academic focus had always included architectural history, appreciated my preservation of the building's original features. During her first visit to the renovated property, she noted details I had carefully maintained: crown moldings, decorative radiator covers, the restored transom windows. Her reluctant admiration represented a small but significant shift. My father, ever practical despite his theoretical economic expertise, asked increasingly detailed questions about the financial aspects of property investment. Our conversations evolved from skeptical interrogation to genuine exchange of ideas. While he never explicitly acknowledged that my path had merit equal to traditional education, his growing respect manifested in subtle ways: referrals to colleagues interested in investment properties, invitations to discuss market trends, inclusion in family decisions that previously would have excluded me. The most meaningful conversation occurred 6 months after the property purchase, during a rare moment alone with both parents in their home. After updating them on the successful leasing of both apartments and the commercial space, I addressed the years of hurt directly. "I never chose my path to rebel or disappoint you," I explained. "I followed my genuine strengths and interests, just as you always claimed to want for your children. The only difference was that my strengths did not match your preconceived notion of success." My mother, eyes damp, reached for my hand. "We wanted to protect you from limitation. In our world, degrees open doors that remain closed without them. In my world, I countered gently, skills create opportunities regardless of credentials. I have built security and independence without the debt and uncertainty my cousins face. Isn't that what you ultimately wanted for me?" That evening marked a turning point in our relationship. While complete understanding remained elusive, the gulf between our worldviews too substantial for perfect alignment, we established a new foundation based on mutual respect rather than expectation and disappointment. 3 years have passed since that pivotal day at the bank. Sitting in my office overlooking the street, I can see the physical manifestation of my journey in the renovated building that houses my expanding business below and provides passive income from the apartments above. The property value has nearly doubled through improvements and neighborhood development, vindicating my investment strategy and renovation decisions. My electrical contracting business has grown to employ 4 full-time technicians, specializing in renewable energy integration and smart building systems. My reputation for quality work and technical innovation has attracted clients ranging from eco-conscious homeowners to commercial developers seeking LEED certification. The ceiling my Uncle Paul insisted existed in trades seems increasingly distant as demand for specialized expertise continues to outpace supply. Emma completed a 2-year associate degree in interior design while apprenticing with a local firm. She now collaborates with my company on selected projects, bringing complementary skills that enhance our offerings. Her parents have grudgingly accepted her unconventional path, particularly as her portfolio grows and client testimonials accumulate. She recently confided that watching my journey gave her permission to trust her own instincts about education and career. Family dynamics have evolved into something I never anticipated. While certain relatives maintain their academic elitism, most have recognized the legitimacy of different paths to success. Holiday gatherings no longer feature hierarchical celebrations of degrees and credentials. Instead, conversations increasingly focus on meaningful work, personal fulfillment, and contribution, regardless of how these are achieved. The most profound change, however, has occurred within me. The need for family validation, once so consuming, has diminished as I have built community among fellow entrepreneurs, tradespeople, and clients who value tangible results over academic pedigree. The anger and resentment that once drove my relentless work schedule have transformed into genuine passion for my craft and appreciation for the independence it provides. My relationship with my parents has found new equilibrium. They will likely never fully understand my choices, just as I may never fully appreciate the academic world that defines their identity. But we have established mutual respect that transcends these differences. Last Christmas, my father surprised me with vintage electrical blueprints from historic Boston buildings framed for my office, a thoughtful acknowledgement of my professional interests that would have been unimaginable years earlier. Looking back at that nervous young man entering trade school against family expectations, I wish I could tell him that vindication would come not through dramatic confrontation, but through quiet competence. Success truly is the best revenge, not because it hurts those who doubted you, but because it frees you from needing their approval at all. The property that once represented my defiance now symbolizes possibility, the tangible result of choosing authenticity over expectation. Each mortgage payment builds equity not just in real estate but in self-determination. Each successful project confirms that practical skills create value recognized by the market, regardless of academic credentials. For anyone watching who feels pressured to follow a path that does not align with their natural abilities and interests, I offer this hard-won wisdom: the courage to pursue your authentic strengths will eventually yield rewards that no amount of conformity can provide. True success comes not from meeting others' expectations, but from building a life that honors your unique capabilities. Have you ever chosen a different path than what your family expected? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. And if you know someone struggling to follow their authentic path, share this video with them. Sometimes we all need permission to choose differently. Thanks for watching, and remember, the best success story is the one where you write your own definition of achievement.